My name is Andrew Ma. I'll be today's speaker. First of all, extend my warmest welcome for you to spend 2.5 hours very busy time in Hong Kong to attend this event. Just want to introduce a little bit more about myself. Oops. Just when I want to start, the computer gets stuck. I hope that will never have. Okay. Okay. I can do it. See if you could help me to rescue this. Okay. All right. So I'm a trainer. I'm a full-time trainer. I own my small little consultancy firm. But at the same time, I'm also a student. Okay. I'm doing my PhD in leadership right now. While I'm actually at the same time practicing teaching leadership, while I'm studying that, I found that that's a very fascinating topic. I don't know about you. Myself, I'm currently doing my 5th degree right now. The more degree I got, the more education I got, the more I know I don't know. The more I know, I don't know. Okay, it's an area that really interesting to me. Okay, so part of my time, about 60% of my time, I go to different corporations to do leadership training, training managers, training directors on leadership. I spend maybe 30–40% of my time also involving in the Gen Y, or the next generation. I do leadership training to Hong Kong UST, Chinese University. I also do a lot of leadership camp in mainland China. In fact, some of my assistants here, I get to know them because of those leadership experience. So the one who's taping is Ruth. I know her a few years ago because I was running a leadership camp for Tsinghua University and other key universities in China. The interactive system that you are going to use is actually powered by another mentee of mine, Angus, just outside. He's now doing a startup. I know him because he's attending one of these events, and I find this fine young gentleman really want to help him out. So he's now having a little startup doing applications development. In fact, I just got the news that they may just get the new this year ICT award. So want to really congratulate some of the fine young people that I see. They are really good. Yet, they may demand other type of leadership method to really unleash them. So that's kind of the key topic today. Okay. All right. Let's go. So today, I promise you to get out here before 11:20. Okay. All right. 11:20 because 10 minutes is very precious, so you can have at least 10 minutes mingle and connecting with each other. Okay. So I'm going to talk about 3 key things today. First of all, I just want to understand and get some of your opinion. What are the key challenges that faced by you guys today in managing a 21st century organization? Okay. Some of the things that I observe when I'm doing engagement with different corporations. Now, the second topic is while I'm doing my PhD, I found out many leadership models. Okay. There's situational leadership, authentic leadership, servant leadership, spiritual leadership, positive leadership. There are many leadership. Every day they're powerful because we need all the professors need to crank out new leadership models so that they can crank out papers. Right? That's the rule. But out of all this, what are those leadership models that really can apply in this part of the world? Because many of those leadership models are developed in the West, that may be very well applied in US, in UK, but in the Chinese context, is it what? Or not? We don't know. Okay? And while I'm actually doing this, I got fascinated by some of the Chinese ancient wisdom of leadership. Okay? While I'm actually saying that, I'm sure you heard about one saying. If you want to learn about management, read Confucius. If you want to learn about leadership, read Laozi, okay, Laozi. If you want to learn about strategy, 孙子. Yeah. So all those ancient wisdoms can actually give us a lot of enlightenment in terms of how to lead people. Okay, so while I'm doing my studying, so wow, those ancient wisdom is very precious wisdom. How can that integrate with the latest Western research and integrate so that we can really make use of it in this part of the world in the 21st century? Okay, so I'm going to share some of my research in this area. Also, Hong Kong people really don't like theory. Theory is boring. What works? What we can apply? Okay, so out of all those theories, how can we apply some of those in our organization today? So, in the last hour or so about applications. Yet we find why people hate about theories. There are many crap theories. But I also believe the best theory should be the most practical. The best practice should theorize, right? So the two should go hand in hand, okay? So what I want to share with you is not just academic research. In the past few years, I have really applied some of this, at least in my small organization, and also to many big organizations that we served, that Corey served in the past few years, okay? All right, now let's try the system, okay? Hopefully it won't crash, okay? Now, if you, it's okay for you to use your cell phone right now. Use the QR code, or if you don't want to use the QR code, just enter into the website onto your iPad or onto your tablet, okay? Just a few questions. Just want to get a polling. So whether we got some consensus, what are the key challenges that we face in 2014, okay? Coming up with new strategy facing market change. Is that the key challenge? Recruiting the right people into the organization, okay? Developing people to become more effective leaders, retaining top talent in the organization, or leading effectively a diverse team, cross-department, cross-generation, and cross-culture. Just want to get a feel, okay? Just in your system, just press, okay? Okay? Yeah, you have done it? Okay. Give you 3 more seconds. Okay. Anybody have technical difficulties? No? Okay, that's fine. Okay, now, let's see. Okay. Let's see the polling result. Get this result, okay. Oh, okay. So 52% saying that developing people to become more effective leaders is the number one, about 52%. Okay. And leading effectively a diverse team, cross-department, cross-generation, cross-culture, number 2. Number 3 is coming up with new strategy facing market change. Okay. That's good. Okay. At least what I'm going to talk about is aligning with your key difficulties. So at least for 1 and 2, this is today's topic. Okay, all right, that's good. So throughout this talk, we're going to use a few times of this system. Okay, all right. Now, in terms of challenges that I see when I go to different organizations and things like that, the key change that we face in many organizations is before, most of the time, you have like 2 generations working in an organization. Okay, the managers typically are older generation, and the staff are usually the next generation. Okay, roughly use the generation term about 10-15 years for one generation. Okay, typically each is very hierarchical, and especially in Chinese traditional. Okay, good. All right. Actually, I have this. Hello. Oh, testing. Okay, good. Okay. So, 2 generations. Mostly the managers are of older generation. The young people are the staff. Typically that's that way. However, in the past few years, a lot more times I see Gen Y now managing like 30 years old, 40 years old people. In fact, one of my mentees, just a few weeks ago, he just graduated from Hong Kong UST 2 years ago. He just now, Andrew, can you help me? Now I have a team to manage. I have a 40-year-old guy and also a 90後 post-90 generation. So imagine that now a post-80 generation, 80後, need to manage a post-90 generation. The post-90 just entered the workforce 1 or 2 years ago. And they also have 老油條, old, you know what I mean, right? So old folks that really hard to change. So they are kind of a 80後, a post-80 generation now to manage like 2 generations or 3 generations easily. Okay? And they have lots and lots of difficulties. And imagine that. I also have one observation. It's more and more female are being promoted, Gen Y female. And imagine a female, 28, 29 years old, just become a manager, need to manage a 50-year-old guy. There are more and more cases like that. And they have really, really difficulties in doing that. Okay? So that's one dimension, the multi-generation in the organization. The other thing is multicultural. Okay? So say, oh, Hong Kong has always been multicultural. Yes. Another key force is many mainland Chinese are now having a degree in Hong Kong and they want to stay in Hong Kong. Although they look Chinese, they eat Chinese, but the Hong Kong Chinese and the mainland Chinese are very different in terms of mindset, in terms of culture and things like that. Okay? Also, because of the US and Western economy not doing so well, I just pulled through the statistics from Hong Kong statistics and find out that there was a dip of Western people coming to Hong Kong in after 1997. But in the past 5 years, more and more Western people are now coming back, come to Hong Kong to work because there's no work available in Europe and in US. So the team now become more and more diverse. Okay? Now the challenge is you need to manage a team that have the Gen E or the Gen Y or the 80後, 90後 or in Taiwan, they say 草莓族, okay? 草莓 strawberry. It's called strawberry because they are very delicate, okay? They cannot touch it. Also grown up in a one set, okay? All right? So that's the situation. Okay, then we can skip that. Okay. Now I want to ask you another questions. Okay, pull up your cell phone again. Sorry. So just a few more times to warm up your system. Okay. All right. Now, what is more difficult? Do you think managing a team that are of different cultural background more difficult, or do you see managing a team of different generations? Baby boomer, Gen X, Gen Y, the millennial generation is more difficult? Or you think, oh, about the same difficulties? Or it's just the same. Managing people is just the same. Same? Okay. All right, just few more seconds. Just key in the system. Okay. Done that? No? Okay, Angus. Technical difficulties. Okay. Oh, you need to go back to the... oh, I need to refresh, right? Oh, next point. Oh, thank you. Yes. Thank you, mentee. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, now you can do it. Okay. Hey, not this one. See this.
And then you click refresh, and then you will go to another show.
Yes, this one is correct. Okay. Press refresh again. Yeah. It's my fault. It's not nothing to do with the event extra system. Okay. Okay. Just refresh. Just refresh. It should be fine. What is more difficult? Okay. Should I do refresh myself, Angus?
No,
I don't? Okay. Just stay here, right? Okay. All right. Everyone okay? All right. Now let's see the result. Okay. Most of the people feel that managing people with different generations, baby boomer, Gen X, Gen Y, more difficult. And then about the same difficulty is number 2. And you think managing a team of different cultural background is the third. No difficulty at all, 0. So everybody feel that there are some difficulties, okay? But feel like more people tend to feel that generations seems to pose more a problem than cultural problem. In fact, this is also my observation as well. Yes, there are cultural difference, but the next generation, because they are now all entering into the internet generation, the Facebook, the Twitter, the Weibo, all now kind of having a very big influence in the Gen Y. That even actually poses a bigger cultural gap than the national change. So the next generation of Gen Y Chinese, the American Gen Y, have less cultural difference than the baby boomer of US and Chinese. That seems to be the trend. But the age gap really poses a big gap in terms of the mindset and things like that. Okay? So that's also my observations, and many researchers also find that as well. Okay? Now, okay, so now the key question is, how can we optimize the team diversity? See that as an asset rather than a burden to the organization. Like it or not, you cannot not hire Gen Y, because that's the only new generations of labor force coming in, right? And with the flat world, with globalization going on, there's also no chance for you to just have a monolithic Hong Kong people in your workforce. You're bound to have mainland Chinese, you're bound to have other culture people in your team. Either in your team or working as a partner, or you want to go out to expand your market to outside Hong Kong. So see the diversity, how do you optimize the diversity rather than see it as a burden? In the past few years, I see most of the people's reaction seeing diversity as a burden. That's my observation. Most of the time, when I talk to Gen X manager, when they talk about Gen Y, they say, they just lots of complaint, many horror stories, interview not showing up on time, not showing up at all, showing up at another person, right? I heard one horror story is the resume that they have is another person. Because, and the interviewer asked the guy, said, because my friend said that, told me that I'll be more suitable than this interview. So another person come in. But the resume is Peter Chan, but they're coming up for Wei Wong. Okay, I heard horror stories like that. Okay, and many Gen X just like that. But I kind of remember vaguely that when I was young, when I was about 18, 20 years old, my mother also always looked down to me, you are so bad, or things like that. And also, it's interesting. I was teaching in City University a few years ago. So many of them, 6, 7 years ago. So many of them now graduated and become manager. And I just saw suddenly one Facebook message from my previous student. He's a typical Gen Y, like born in 1985, something like that. Okay, he was complaining to me over Facebook saying, I can't stand the young people. The post-90 generation. Blah, 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 they are always late. Blah, 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 blah. And then I suddenly on Facebook tell him, hey Franco, I still remember when you were in my class, you were also late always as well. And then he just stopped talking to me on the Facebook anymore. I don't know whether it's like part of the Chinese culture blood that we always think the next generation not up to standard than the previous generation. Okay. I grew up in Canada. I also spent quite a bit of time in US, in Silicon Valley. I find most of the people in the West, when they talk about the next generation, they have more balanced view. In the West, when people think about the Gen Y, they say, oh yeah, they're very creative, they're outside the box, they're very good in using digital equipment and things like that. They at least have some positive things to say, and then they say, oh yeah, the Gen Y, da 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 da. But in the Confucius Chinese culture, there was a study. Most of the Korean, Taiwan, mainland China, Singapore, look at all the press, the media, when they talk about Gen Y or the millennial generation, it's always negative. Okay? It's always negative. In the West, it's a little bit more balanced view. So maybe in our blood, in the Chinese blood, that we always feel that the next generation are not up to par. Okay? Alright, so let's skip that. Okay. Now, I'm going to suggest to you my research and also my practice tells me, hey, things we can learn from wolves, things we can learn from water. We can learn things from water. Okay. I just want to just quickly do an interactive polling again. Sorry, use your cell phone. When you think about water, what's your first impression of water? Okay. I don't know. Like, is it boring, clear, adaptive, transparent, good to people, nourishing, refreshing? I don't know. You can have this polling. I need to refresh. Yes. Next polling. Oh. Okay, your first impression you think about water. Because we're going to spend some time about what we can learn from water. So I want to get your first impression about water first. What is your first impression of water? Okay. Just do a refresh on your website. You don't need to enter again. Just refresh. Okay, let's get this result. Hey, how come? It's the previous result. Oh, next result. Oh, okay. Again, it's not my fault. Yeah, I'm a Gen X, so I'm not as good as. No, next result, right? Oh, okay. All right, good. Thanks. Okay. Although I studied electronic engineering about 20 years ago, but new technology, I cannot as good as those young people. Anyway, so the first impression is water adaptive, clear, transparent. Okay, those are all good impression. Okay, so just tell you one story why I actually got inspired. When I look at all this leadership model, when I look at all this authentic leadership, all this authentic leaderships, situational leaderships, all those leadership models, I really think that, oh gee, there are too many leadership models. Very difficult to understand. Okay? So what are some of the unique things we can learn from ancient wisdom? Sometimes ancient wisdoms can tell us a lot. Okay? So then actually a few years ago, I read a book, a very fascinating book called If You Want to Learn Management, Learn from Confucius. If you want to learn leadership, learn from Laozi. 如果你想學管理咧，就學孔子；如果你想學領導咧，就學老子。So I read that book, very interesting book. Okay, so that really thinks that let me just read 道德經, okay, and find out very fascinating idea. Laozi, about 3,000 years ago, use the term 上善如水. Okay. Good leaders are like water. That's also one of my favorite sake brand in Japan as well. 上善如水. Okay. And he said that nothing in the world is softer and more supple than water. when confronting strength and hardness, nothing can overcome it. And throughout of the very short Tao Te Ching, it's actually a very small book, but it talks about water a number of times, and actually asks using water to represent good leaders or sage, 聖人. Okay, and I find that it's not only Laozi. Okay, in fact, ancient wisdom from King Solomon in the Bible also said that good leadership is a channel of water. Oh, it's also water. And also look at 孫子兵法, when they talk about strategy. It talks about strategy is also need to also like water. Okay. Oh, there's something interesting about water. So I start to really look at that, and I find out a lot of this water characteristics maps into the latest leadership model. Authentic leadership, adaptive leadership, all those latest leadership theory in the West. It's the same thing that Laozi, King Solomon talk about the water characteristics, what we can learn from water as a good leader. So I find that fascinating, the parallel. Okay? So, and I find that, in fact, the Chinese way of leadership always talk about paternalistic, 父母式嘅管教. Okay? That really contrasts a lot from the lead like water from Laozi. The paternalistic is more 孔子. It's called more Confucius. Okay? Management, yes. In Confucius idea, everything is in the good place. 君君臣臣，父父子子. Everyone in the right place. Hierarchical structure is very easy to manage. That's fine. Chinese people need to be managed. Yes. In the past few decades, because very chaotic, very change. But now, in the 21st century, Chinese people need to be led. It seems to lack the leadership. And the leadership paradigm that Laozi is advocating is contrasting to the management style, or the paternalistic management style that which has been used throughout the past thousands of years in Chinese history. Okay? Lead like water, more flexi style, not monolithic style. Monolithic style is, I'm the authoritative father, you just obey me, obey the order. That seems to be the typical way of traditional Chinese way of management. But lead like water, in fact, Laozi is talking about if a good leader needs to be very flexible, need to be very adaptive, need to be very authentic like water, need to have lower power distance, and more appreciative and more assertive. Okay? So I'm going to talk about all these characteristics a little bit more in detail. Then most important of all, how to apply. Okay? So in lead like water, basically there are 5 key water characteristics. Okay? Water is adaptive and flexible. Water is altruistic to others. Water is modest and humble. Water is transparent and clear. Water is gentle yet persistent. Okay, all these are water characteristics, and that we can learn a lot from these water characteristics as a leader in the 21st century. Okay, so what I call is called 雨水領導, lead like water. Okay, so first of all, becoming adaptive leader. Okay, Laozi once said, if you realize that all things change, there's nothing you will try to hold on to. Okay, very wise wisdom from China, 1,000 years ago. So, what does it really mean? We face earlier cross-generation gap, cross-cultural gap. Okay, for different people, different culture, you can also almost visualize it as different container. Okay, some are like the shape of glass. I borrow my 9-year-old daughter glass. Very different. Okay. When she was baby, it's like this, so that even if you fall on the ground, it's safe. Okay. Yeah. So when you pour your water, leaders are like pouring water into different container. The shape need to adapt to the different shape. Okay? And when you even hold the water, some with the ears, you can hold it with the ears. Some you need to grip it like that. So that tells really a lot in terms of the leadership style that we need to adapt to. Okay? So first of all, let's look at Gen X and Gen Y, the different generations. The different generations can almost be in a different container. Okay? So when leaders need to pour in the water, they need to change the shape. But first of all, what is the shape that we're talking about? What is the shape that we're talking about? Okay? The Gen Y, we always feel that, oh, the work attitude, workplace attitude is very negative. They're not responsible, they are not committed, they are not engaged, they're always on the cell phone, playing Candy Crush, WhatsApp, they're not really paying attention to not respecting the old generations. Those are all our observations. Okay? Yet, because my PhD thesis is right on this target, so I've read through 200 plus journals about serious academic research on workplace attitude on different generations. The latest research, or all the research find out, if you're really serious about discounting the age factor. Why discount the age factor? Because it's not really compares apples to apples. We are comparing to a 45-year-old guy to a 25-year-old ladies here, young people here. Okay? The age, the 20 years of difference of age can be a lot, right? So if we have to really compare, you have to compare when I was 20 years old and compared to a 20 years old now. And do that comparison. That should be more fair, right? So discounting the age factor, all the serious research find out that there are no significant workplace attitude, motivation, engagement, and commitment among Gen X and Gen Y. If we discount the age factor. That's really fair, right? You have to be fair in order to do the comparison. Huh? Okay. So is it the shape identical? No. The key thing is the Harvard Business Review just latest, very big, one of the biggest research that have undertaken, and this is the Harvard Business Review, saying that what is the single most important factor that affects employee motivation, engagement, and commitment level. So they look at many different factors. Is it the pay, the salary, all this kind of factor? They found, yes, those are all have some effect, but the most important factor is whether the supervisor, the immediate boss, whether they see them as good leaders or not. If they see them as good leaders, the engagement level went up, the commitment level went up, the job satisfaction went up. So it's all about how they see the leaders is effective or not. Okay? That's the single most important factor. If my PhD find out this research, I can graduate because it's an almost perfect correlation. Okay? But yet, the shape do different. The shape of the container of Gen X and Gen Y are different. Most of the serious research, in fact, I'm trying to prove it in Hong Kong, is that they have a different leadership expectation. Okay? The Gen Y expect effective leaders are having different leadership style. If we use the previous leadership style, the management, the Confucius, the paternalistic leadership style, to the next generation, they will have not committed to the job, they're not satisfied, they want to leave all the time. So when I talk to many of my students before, many people, when they change jobs, then the number one complaint of Gen Y is they change job all the time, right? So I have one mentee that she changed job 4 times. 4 times in the past 1 year. I guess know who I'm talking about. So when I asked her, why do you change job? The real reason is that I can't stand my boss. Of course, the exit interview will never say that. The exit interview is, oh, I have a better opportunity. I want to see the world. The exit interview never tell you the truth, right? The exit interview because they want to give face, right? That's still part of the Chinese heritage, not to tell the truth, but give face. But the real reason is they cannot stand the boss. Okay, and most of the research in the West so far prove that they have a different leadership expectation. And my PhD right now is to try to prove that the gap of such expectation difference in Hong Kong is even bigger. Okay, so help me out. At the end, I may ask you to do a survey for me to really look at the difference of leadership expectation. So the key thing is to act like water, to lead like water. Key thing is to be adaptive. Change your leadership style when you lead different generations of people. Okay? It's already proven in the past 20 years of global leadership, cross-cultural leadership. We already know that when we need to manage a Western people in US, in UK, the leadership style needs to be different than the leadership style of managing a bunch of Chinese. It's already established as a fact. But now, the key thing is when you're managing different generations of people, we also need to adapt our leadership style. Okay? So like water, we need to be adaptive. Okay? One size does not fit all. Okay? That's the number one thing you can learn from water. And that's a recent study from MRG. I'm actually the only Chinese master LEA 360 trainer in this part of the world. They do a lot of cross-cultural study. They already found out using US as a base, Netherlands are the most different people that see leadership different. Okay? The closest one, of course, Canada, Australia, they are the similar one, or New Zealand, UK. But like China is kind of in the middle. Hong Kong is here. So the higher the bar, the bigger the expectation of leadership difference in different culture. Okay? So the leaders today need to be adaptive in 2 dimensions. They need to be adaptive to the generations. They need to be adaptive to the culture. Okay? To the national culture. So I've already done some preliminary research. I'm currently running many focus groups looking at Gen X and Gen Y. What do they expect good leaders are? Okay? So I find out the post-80 generation, roughly equal to the Gen Y in the Western world, they expecting authentic leaders-followers relationship. They are expecting the boss can not just giving them orders. They can talk, they can speak. They can speak on the human level, not on the robot machine level. They're expecting the boss to be a little bit more friendly. They expect that the boss can give personalized motivation, not just give bonus to everybody. Personalized motivation. Give them a praise, give them an individual appreciation, say thank you more. That's the expectation. Leaders need to not only provide instruction, but also the meaning. They are the Gen Y, WHY. They ask a lot of why. Part of it, because of the education, is different. In our education, there's no 通識 general, what's 通識 in English? General study, right? Liberal studies. In my generation, there's no liberal studies. In my generation, when I went through school, there's math, Chinese, English. You don't ask why, just follow the step-by-step instruction. That's how you got A's. In my generation. But in the Hong Kong, the past 10 years, they have liberal studies. The whole liberal study is to encourage them to ask why, right? So when they were being encouraged in school to ask why, and when they go to work, when they ask why, the boss shut them down. Don't ask why, just follow my instruction. They will be really discouraged, demotivated. and not committed, right? So that's kind of makes sense, right? The grow-up situation are very different, okay?